Welcome back to the Engineer Career Podcast. I'm so excited to introduce Alessandra Triscari, who is my guest on, I don't know even number we're on now, but we're in the 20s for the podcast. But I'm so excited to invite you along to hear about your career, Alessandra.
I'm glad to be here. So I did not know much about exactly what my path was going to be, but I knew right after I finished college and I wanted to go to university that I also wanted to work. It was just like a deal breaker for me. I would rather shadow an electrical engineering for a week and a mechanical engineering for the next week and so on and so on. And then you'd say, okay, actually I did really like what software engineering was doing. That was so cool. I want to do that. And then you go maybe say, okay, then I'll do an apprenticeship, or you go for a college. You go for an HNC and an HND. I always believe myself that I was just a star. And I always keep that meta memory with me.
Welcome back to the Engineer Career Podcast. I'm so excited to introduce Alessandra Triscari, who is my guest on, I don't know even number we're on now, but we're in the 20s for the podcast. But I'm so excited to invite you along to hear about your career, Alessandra.
I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic.
Thank you for inviting me.
I think what's so exciting about your career so far, it's something that I kind of tap into a lot, is you have obviously done a fair bit of studying within engineering.
Hello.
But you're working as well.
Yes.
And I think that's a really exciting opportunity to explore how you're balancing your studies alongside working, and how work benefits and how your study benefits. So it's so exciting to have you here. So thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. I'll tell you everything about it.
Brilliant. That's why you're here. So I guess best place to start off then is what sparked your interest in engineering?
Well, early on, so when I was a teenager, I always been very interested in math and physics, but I did not have like an engineer in the family. Like some people say, oh, my father, my uncle, my auntie, everybody was an engineer, and in my family, nobody. So I did have this interest, but only later on, when actually I started to work as an engineer after I finished my HND at college, and I somehow landed a role as engineer, like a junior. And I realized I like it, I like this. And I found a bit, so I was like, 22, 23? So a bit later on, I think. I feel like I was interested early on, by just like, if I had a piece of puzzle missing, they go like, oh, this is actually what I like, what I want to do. Yeah. It took me a bit longer to put everything together and see like, oh, this is the path I want to get on. So
brilliant.
So I hope that
when we met for a coffee, we were chatting about your career, and very quickly we got on to discussing the difference between how the academic education world is in Scotland and the UK compared to Italy. So take me back to school in Italy.
Yes,
I should probably say you're from Italy. You're
I'm from
Sicily.
Italy. Yes, I'm from Italy. So the institution works differently. So early on, about the age of 13, 14, so we finish middle school. And we need to choose a high school where to go to. So as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, here you choose your subject during high school. But in Italy, it's not exactly like that. It's kind of like if you select a university already, you can go and study to become like a therapist, a psychologist. Or you can go in more like more technical, I don't know, even to become a lawyer, and you're going to study more like law already, and like we study Latin as well, because of course we're Italians and we're fancy, so we do have that too. And you can go in a humanitarian subject, or like I did in scientific subject. So I did study back in school, like it was a very high math, physics, and coding, biology, chemistry. There was a very heavy studying on that. Of course, I did other subjects as well, but that was the main core. And you do this for 5 years, and if you do not complete those 5 years, you do not get your high school diploma. We call it diploma. So we actually finish high school around 18, 19 years old. That's usually when we finish. and then after that we go to university. But it's in a way there are some people that just do like a straight path. So when they're early on, they do scientific studies like I did, and then they go to become like in scientific studies. Also, when they go to university, so either they go engineering or biologist or whatever. It's like they find what is the scientific study they like the more: software engineering, mechanical engineering, and so on. But despite I did the studies back in school, and I could not choose because I did like I like coding, I like physics, I like math, I like biology, but I'm not sure how to put all this together. And I felt like back then there was some sort of creativity missing, and I had this craving for a bit of creativity. That's probably what then brought me to not go directly to engineering, but I went to the Department of Architecture, where I started to study industrial design, and which is something very close to manufacturing, which is what I'm doing right now. But somehow there was a touch of architecture in there. So I had also architectural lectures. So it was a very interesting course. So that's how it works. It's so hard because like it's difficult, I think, here already when you're 17, 18, with the time you finish high school, to pick a subject for a university, never mind when you are 13 and kind of you need to put the right foot for the rest of your future. So I guess that's
quite interesting because in Scotland or in the UK, what tends to happen is you pick your subjects in secondary school. So round about 13, 14, you pick, it's the kind of first major milestone of you starting to kind of funnel in. And even though, I mean, the grand scheme of things, you're still quite far out from picking your kind of career move. You tend to do that when you're leaving school, so the age of like 17, or 16, 17, 18. But what you tend to get is you pick subjects which you kind of get a wide variety of. Usually pick 8 subjects called National Fives. They used to be called standard grades when I was at school. And then you then kind of take them and then go into 5 subjects the following year. And then you continue that process. You might do down to like between 3 and 5 in your final year of school. When you've picked your 5 subjects, usually at that time you begin to have a look at where your career's going to go. But I think the point, and I'm going to ask you this for you because it's such an early stage, is what tends to happen here is you get, or what's supposed to happen is you get exposed to lots of different career options. So in engineering, it's usually what they call STEM activities. So you'll have companies like Primary Engineer, Smart STEMs. You might have other organisations who basically will show what science, technology, engineering, and maths, what careers are that are related to that. So I guess for you, do they do that something similar to that, but at an even earlier stage, or what do they do to try and entice you into engineering in Italy?
Not much. I would say.
I mean, I've made that sound like it's like a really structured thing here.
Yeah,
I would say it's maybe not as structured as that.
No,
but.
so I really like the fact in here you get exposed, some sort of exposure. And again, I don't want to. I think, of course, I left high school a while ago, so maybe things have changed in the meantime. You get, of course, like your teachers, your professor help you. Like if they see your talent or like you have a predisposition for one module or a specific topic, they will of course guide you. But none of my teachers told me like, oh yeah, you should go and do engineering, or so I did not have that type of guide. I'm not saying they were bad, they actually were great. I had such good fundamentation of math, physics, like that helped me till now.
Yeah.
But I did not feel after finishing high school, I could do and go engineering. But also because I'm not saying I don't want to say engineering is harder in Italy, but the way it's taught is way harder because we tend to do things still the old ways without not always looking at the future. And I think it's not probably one of the best things back in my country. And engineering tends to be not always taught when I say not very well, doesn't mean we are not prepared. But they expect so much from us without having the proper preparation, as instead I found here. And you need to do a lot of self-work yourself, and you find yourself panicking because you feel like either you have not studied for 5 years prior to starting university, and you're not prepared well enough, and it's just institution doesn't. I say that you're very independent, I mean it. Like, you do a lot of the work yourself. They will just start like with the hardest part of calculus without even like look back at what you did before, and you need to know what you're doing. And sometimes, as you know, you don't always get the best of teachers. And when I mean best, it doesn't mean they are not prepared. They are great at what they do. It's more the teaching part that can be hard. And we have classes of 500, 600, 700 people. Sometimes you don't even get a seat in the room for you to actually listen to the professor teaching to you. So it's more, I was very discouraged to do such a path in Italy because I did not like how university is, because it's such a common university course people go to, like mechanical engineers, software engineering, and so on. And I felt like I was setting up myself for failure going there, but it wasn't the subject I wasn't interested in, because back when I was in high school, I studied how electric car works from a book of second year mechanical engineering. So for me, it was super interesting. It was more the coordination around that didn't make me feel safe to go there, and maybe that I wasn't either smart enough or just tough enough to do it.
Sure, smart enough. It's not you've clearly shown the different levels of education that you've been in Scotland, and I'm a bit interested to explore how you see the difference between the two. You've you've shared the Italian side, so it'll be exciting to see or how you feel it is in Scotland, because you've obviously went through the college and the university system, or you're going through a university. So let's go into it then. So you decided to move to Scotland. How did that come about then? How did you end up moving to Scotland?
So my best friend lived here already for 2 years, and I just wanted to come and visit her. And I said, well, what about stay this summer? And because, of course, I had the summer break from university, because I did a year of university in there. And she said, oh, yeah, fantastic, like, you'll come over. So got a ticket, got my suitcase, and just go fly here. And I had a return flight, though. I will say I had in mind to return. But I just fell in love with the city and with the opportunity that presented for me. And I feel like I'm such a hard worker. Maybe I can achieve more by staying here. And I liked the fact that there's so many people from different cultures. I feel like I could absorb and learn so much from here. And I don't know, some people say I'm crazy because I come from an island, it's always sunny, always so beautiful. How you fell in love with Glasgow? And I'm like, the deep fried Mars bar just won me over.
Oh, that's funny then. So then what year was that you moved here then?
2018.
2018. So you've been here for 7 years now. Yeah. So going back onto your career, you went to Kelvin College, is that right?
Yes, the year after, because of course I arrived here was like August 2018, so I applied, then started applying for universities just a couple of months later, so I started the following year, and I started to Kelvin College, yes, for my HNC.
For some computer design?
Yes.
And that's why you're on the podcast, because that's like my favourite part of engineering. So
no, absolutely. I just was a lot into it, and I felt though like, again, it wasn't very well taught back in university in Italy, so I felt like I need to truly learn, sink my teeth in this, because it's so important to have this skill as an engineer or whatever I was going to decide to be at one point.
And did you know your kind of path, because you've done college, then university? Did you have your sights on I'm going to go to college, I'm then going to go to university, or did you just think I'll go to college first and see what
I
opportunities
think
arise?
my idea was more like, let's go to college first, because bear in mind, I had no idea how nothing worked in here. I came from a completely different country, different language, different institution. And I'm like, I'll take it one step at a time. Even when I decided to stay and don't go back home, I did not think like, oh, well, but what if I fail? What if I'm like, I have to try. If I fail, I've just learned something new. It's something I'll just add in my baggage. I wasn't too afraid to fail.
I love that mentality. That's quite a rare mentality, but it's one that I talk about a lot. Is like you try not to look at failure as as failure. You can't recognise. You look at it as a level of experience which you're building up.
Exactly.
It's something you'll learn from. So I love how you've said that. I mean, I didn't even plan you saying it.
Exactly. No, I just took it one step at a time. And see, like, when I first arrived here, I did not even speak fluent English. Even my first year of college, I could speak English already, but I struggled. Like, I remember one of my classes was actually writing a report on, like, having to understand engineering reports. Everybody may have found hard, I don't know, doing CAD. For me, that was the hardest part instead, because the struggle of writing, learning, listening in a new language, and having to use technical words and having to explain myself. I feel like a monkey sometimes when I try to explain myself. So it was even harder challenge in that way. But I was like, okay, one step at a time. I always thought and believed and that nobody's like, it starts from level 0 and then you just learn your way up. So anyway, so that's how I ended up in Kelvin College, and I did my HNC, and then the following year I did my HND in a different college, mostly because the HND wasn't in Kelvin College and was in New College Lanarkshire, and I absolutely loved my HND because the professor at New College Lanarkshire are absolutely like amazing.
Go throw some names out. It's always good to throw names out.
So there is Ryan. He was my main lecturer, I think. Oh, I stressed him out a lot though. Like, I was one of those kids like ask so many questions, so many things. Like, always I wanted to do the hardest things, and he was there trying to help me. But he was honestly a great teacher. I felt like the year I spent there, I just massively improved my skills. And Frank, if you're hearing me, love you. He was my teacher for, like, he taught me 3ds Max, so everything about rendering and so on. It was just so interesting, and I just love this subject. Yeah. So, and a great person, great teacher, honestly. The
amount of companies that I've spoken to who talk about New College Lanarkshire as the place to go to for computer-aided design.
100%.
Yeah, it's like the go-to.
Absolutely. I would recommend 10 out of 10.
Yeah, so like that, whether that's for a company or for a student, it's good for people to see to know that, to know that that's a really good option. I'm not saying that they wouldn't know it, but we should be shouting as loud as we can about
absolutely
where good places to go.
I think they're very, very prepared, and most of the students, like, they get like the word to word skills where they compete for, like, on CADs, on Inventor and so on. And I think, I don't remember now the name, I'm so sorry, but I think one of their students, I end up like either he won or like finalist, but that they're absolutely great. Brilliant. In preparing like students. Yeah. So I would recommend, if any students thinking to study CAD, I would definitely go to them, starting from the HNC to completing the 2 years. I would just give you a very good base on CAD.
So what parts of CAD then up to this point you've spent 2 years, your 2 college courses in CAD. What element of CAD? Because CAD's a big world, from 2D to 3D to 4D, to so different softwares that you can use and master. It can be more product design. It can be more industrial based CAD. So what part of it that really took a hold of you and made you think, I want to stay using computer aided drawing design?
Well, I think it's been more like kind of mechanical type of drawings. So like I'm talking about like 1,000 parts type of models. So usually right now in university I use SolidWorks. Back then I used Inventor. And my last project for the year from my H&D was actually building a model, and I built an exercise bike. So I have to build like all the mechanisms work together. I'm doing simulations, and it's so great. You can use CAD for basically if you're working in manufacturing, or even if you're working in manufacturing, but you want to test a mechanism, you can actually do it and see if it works, and that can save the company or you just yourself a lot of money, and just taste it in real time using gravity or speed, whatever like you want to test on that object. And that's one part that CAD I liked, and also on Fusion we use CAD/CAM. So the actual what the machines does to make a product, and that makes you understand how design for manufacturing, because sometimes you design something but it's not really feasible. How you need to always ask yourself, how do I make this? How do you do that? So I think the part, to answer to your question, was that I like how the SparkleCAD, how makes real world problems makes you try them on a software, and it's just so interesting. That's probably the part I like the most.
It's almost like the kind of the elite level of using CAD, because like anyone can use, well, not anyone, but anyone can try and draw a model or do some kind of basic extrusions on a CAD, but actually design for the actual functionality and actually be functional is a whole different, whether you're running it through computer-aided engineering software such as finite element analysis or computational fluid dynamics, or running it through a CAD/CAM to see if it's actually manufacturable or into cost and all those things. So that's really interesting. Then so then you decided after college to move to university, and you joined the University of Strathclyde, where you're currently studying.
Yes.
So I think you're one of maybe 2 other guests who are still technically students, but also you're working as well, which is really exciting, and I can't wait to explore that. But how's it been being a student? You've just finished third year.
Third year, yeah.
And what are you studying at Strathclyde at the moment?
My course is Product Design Engineering, which is a Department of Manufacturing Design. DMM, yes. Design Manufacturing. There's some word. It's like a long department's name. I'll just say manufacturing department. So I had to have a lot of classes in mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, mechatronics, coding, and then there is of course an emphasis on manufacturing courses, like either processes, materials, and so on and so on. So I'll actually design for manufacturing. And well, I liked it so far, and I guess that's the most important thing. I did like the fact that we do have a lot of labs. We do actually have hands-on on making things and having to make them work and having to struggle with like real life problems and say like, oh my god, how do I fix this? And I'm not gonna lie that I did have a little mental breakdown in the workplace, because at one point I was building a robot from scratch, and I had to dismantle like 1,000 times over and then put it back again, and then I have to print this part again. It's just a whole process, and that makes you really understand all the work that is behind, and how it's important that you ask yourself the good questions where you're designing anything, regardless of the field you are and how many things can go wrong. That's so important, and I loved it by far, regardless of the struggles and the challenges. But that's the whole point about engineering, is the problem solving. How do I solve this by using math, coding, whatever other technical skills I can have to solve that problem?
Yeah, I think I was going to mention it about 10 minutes ago, but I'll mention it now because I feel you've had like 3 different examples of it, and it just kind of resonates with probably the way my mind works, as well as when you think about using CAD, or you think about dismantling or building a robot, bit of equipment. It's the process of building it up and stripping it down, building your CAD model, remodeling, finding a problem with it, and then coming back. That whole process is actually, to me, is actually the engineering. And that's you understanding. By the end of you going through those kind of cyclic or those kind of iterations multiple times, you understand the product better, you understand what works well, what works doesn't. So to me, like, the kind of core engineering learning there isn't actually what you're working on, it's the process that you're working through to kind of identify the best way of something working, or how something should work. And I've mentioned it before in episodes, it's like that phrase of, oh, why did you get into engineering? I like to know, I've always wanted to know how things work, and it kind of goes back to that. So yeah, it's something I can relate to as well, because I love computer aided design. So so university's going well, and you started that in 2022, but in 2023 you also started working. So tell us a wee bit about your
well, technically I started to work in 2021.
2021. So you did. Sorry, go for it. Let me go for it. Let me say that again. I'll say that again.
No.
So you started your university in 2022. You're in 3rd year at the moment, but in 2021 you started a role as a
junior project engineer.
So.
And
congratulations for that. Like, to be clear, that you're not doing an apprenticeship. You're doing full time studies, and you decided to, whether it's college, university, and you decided to work as well.
Yeah.
My first question would be, why?
So I did not know much about exactly what my path was going to be, but I knew right after I finished college and I wanted to go to university that I also wanted to work. It was just like a deal breaker for me. Like, I have to do this. For me, it's very important, because I really believe that I have hands-on on a job. It's one of the most important skills I want to have. So I did start to apply actually right at the end of finishing my H&D, and I landed this job, and I worked for them for a year and a half right before university started, and then I kept working part-time for them during my first year. Then I changed company, and now I work as a building services engineer for STC. For me, I think it's important to study and investing in your knowledge, but it's also as important to work and having hands-on experience. And I do not say this just for acquire more technical skills, but I do believe soft skills are also very, very, very important in your career. Your ability also to deal with people, deal with problems, deal with deadlines, it's so very, very important, because there's no getting panicked. I'm not saying it's wrong if you do, but learning this process, this soft skills, the ability to speak with clients, speak with contractors, or speak with everybody's around you, and just like keep your calm, just do your job, just ability to deal with everybody, deal with problems. It's something don't always is taught. Actually, it's not taught in university. Yeah. As a university student, I can get all the technical skills go on, but the soft skills are up to me. And I do believe that is around work. You do learn that. And of course, there are things, I've not learned in university, but I learned at work, because you have someone mentoring you. And I feel like that you get the best of both worlds. In a way, I learned from both sides different things, and they just merge and give me the best outcome, I believe.
You're talking my language here. This is like you're covering all the areas which I talk about frequently. Mm-hmm. So I guess the first question I have around this, and we can dive straight into this, is that's 2 companies you've worked for.
Yes.
Both of them knew you were studying permanently.
Yes.
Full time. How did they, in terms of how they seem to be quite open to you doing the studying? Because like
So-
it's not common for companies
not.
to bring someone in who is doing how many days a week at university are you studying?
Well, it has been different every year, but I will say 3, 4, 4 or less.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, 4 days a week. I mean, maybe not all day, but like even 2 hours I have a class. So
And how many hours a week did you work in Anderson, and then how many hours a week did you work in
between 16 and 21 hours.
Okay.
So between 2 and 3 days, depending, of course, on the semester. Some semester maybe I had less classes, so but that is the average. That's during the academic year.
Same for both of them?
Yeah. The same was both of them. And then during my summer break or my Christmas break, if I had like, I don't know, before the office shut, I would do, and I was done with my exams, I would work more. So I'd give most of my availability to work as much as I could once I was done with my academic responsibilities. So.
I absolutely love that. I mean, I love that. You know, the kind of the common ideal scenario for a student, and I would argue for industry as well, is you study in, you know, September to April, May, and then you go in and you do an internship or a summer placement. That's the kind of the drum beat that everyone is kind of used to. You know, and not everyone gets internships and summer placements, which then causes a problem down the line because people don't get the experience. And therefore they get to the end of university and they may be not as a desirable asset as someone who has the experience, which in my opinion is companies, it's their fault because they should provide more opportunities. Students can only apply for what they see. But for you, you've managed to find not only one but 2 companies who have supported your development while
Wasn't
you
easy.
studied.
If I may add, it wasn't easy at all.
So can you share a memorable moment in your career, an achievement, something that stands out so far?
Well, I have work related. I recently completed one of my first project where I was the lead engineer, and satisfied by far. Was definitely an achievement because I had to. It was like an energy assessment using Passive House, which I learned from scratch, and I achieved this milestone, I think, in my career. And definitely after speaking with Craig, I might want to get like a course energy modeling related. And instead, about my university career, right before the year finished, we had one last project, which was building a robot that had to follow a specific path, and I was the one that did the coding for it. So we had to split tasks between the team because it was a very big project. And I am satisfied to say that I built a working code, which it's not easy. It's not absolutely easy. So I'm very, very happy about that. Also because some people said, oh, you need to do it this way, but I found the best way to do it considering the type of project, and I think I did.
Yeah.
Did a good job.
Good. I like that how we didn't record there. You and I discussing, you asking me what type of achievement, and then you've came up with achievements. I like that. Some people just, and I'm terrible for it, it's like not recognising like a success and patting yourself in the back for it, or just kind of, you know, it's really important, you know.
It's really important, but I do that a lot. Like, I am not very much for the, I've done such a good job, or so, and I do not always, like, it's like I don't realize on the moment I did achieve something, but then you look back, it's like, oh my God, I did achieve that, and I did achieve that, and I think it's important to for your own self, also for your own sanity, look back most of the time, because you'll see how far you go. Yeah, and sometimes you tend to forget that. I do tend to forget that, and that's probably one piece of advice I would give to someone.
Yeah, no, good. I like that. Good. I think you may have covered this point, but is there any role models or mentors that would stand out that you'd want to kind of share, and what influence they've had in your career?
Well, definitely back in high school, as I said, I had very, very good teachers, and but the moment that stand for me was the end of high school, and I've not explained this, but at the end of high school we do have exams, and then we have also a presentation to do in front of a commission of professors, where half of the professors are the ones that have been teaching you for 5 years, and the other half are absolutely strangers. They don't know who you are. And one of the stranger professors, actually a physics professor, was very, very impressed by my presentation, that was based on a second year book of mechanical engineering. So of course he was impressed. And once I was done with my presentation and everything, he followed me out of the room saying that he was absolutely blown away by me, and to always believe myself that I was just a star. And I always keep that memory with me. And then moving forward, definitely Frank, my teacher at College Lanarkshire, is such a lovely person, and was such a great mentor. And definitely Craig and Colin and Louis, they all work with me. And I've learned so much from them, and always push me to do more and give me positive feedbacks, and definitely grow my confidence. So 100%, definitely my mentor.
I love it. And what about challenges in your career? Have you had any? Is there any kind of challenge that stands out that you found a way to navigate around it, or overcome?
Well, as we were discussing earlier, but probably my biggest challenge was to find a part-time job at one point. So trying to get to have the experience, despite having doing an engineering course. I did not think it was gonna to be that hard. I thought that most companies were gonna be happy to have someone that is continuing to invest in themselves. So I wasn't asking anything from the company, if not just the fact to let me work for them. So definitely that has been a bit of a challenge. I wasn't prepared that it was going to be that difficult. But I am very, very stubborn. So
good. No, that's good.
I got there.
I'd call it determined, not stubborn. Determined. So what advice would you give to someone that's considering a career in engineering? We've discussed, the time it maybe took you to realise that engineering was for you.
Yeah.
Maybe to do with the institution in Italy and the way things, turned out in terms of moving to Glasgow and what came with that. But what would your advice be to someone picking engineering or considering it?
Well, again, for what I say, it works for me. But I think for everybody, I would not recommend. It seems odd. Go straight to university. I would recommend get exposed to engineering, which does not necessarily mean to get a course or doing university. I mean, in my opinion, it would be better to get how do you call it? Sorry, I have the name for it. Apprenticeship. Yes, like an apprenticeship, or like if you have someone in your family that is an engineer, maybe takes a day with you to for shadowing someone and see what they do, if you actually like it. Like having hands-on, and I'm not sure if it's something that you can do without necessarily commit to an apprenticeship or going to a university course, because I feel that if you have an interest for engineering and you go to study it very early on, it might be your call and you just did the exact choice very early on in life, but it might not be. Or it might just be that there is so many fields in engineering, you don't know which one was going to be. Software engineering, mechanical engineering, building services, there is so many, electrical, so many you can do. So what is actually the field you want to specialize into? So I would say that somehow you need to get exposed and try all the different engineering fields in a way that is not a full commitment of 4 years, because what might happen is you can go, then you don't like it and just change it. But I feel it's, even if you start university, it's still not the real experience. I would rather shadow an electrical engineering for a week and a mechanical engineering for the next week, and so on and so on. And then you'd say, okay, actually I did really like what the software engineering was doing. That was so cool. I want to do that. And then you go maybe say, okay, then I'll do an apprenticeship, or you go for a college. you go for an HNC and an HND, which is maybe is not a full-on commitment, but you get like a taste of it.
Yeah,
and so like, that seems cool, but how is like actually applying that? So I despite being in full-time education, I will not recommend someone that is 17, 18 is not, of course, like I was unsure of what I wanted to do, to go on a full commitment for 4 years, because it's rather trying to have an exposure to it. I feel somehow. I'm not sure exactly how you gain exposure unless you have someone that is close to you, but maybe networking. Like if you are interested in that, then I don't know, I'll say go to LinkedIn and approach engineers in certain like field and ask questions, or ask like, I don't know, can I know more? Like, I don't know. I think it's something that I will do. Maybe it's not something that exists, but I feel it's something that should exist.
Yeah, I think you're tapping into something here. Like, there's different angles to come at it. Mm-hmm. So, like, one is, I think there's a percentage of people, it's like a high percentage of people who pick their profession. Mm-hmm. It tends to be from the exposure they get through parents or through siblings or a family member. Certainly was for me. So then the question you have to ask is what if they're not there, or they're not... so what if they're not there? Or, for example, you want to be an engineer and your parents aren't, and you've got no real awareness of what engineering is. You've got the skill set or the mindset, but it's not open door. So, like, to me, it kind of leans into more the attraction point. So it's like, how does engineering as an industry create a more attractive proposition, so that instead of the 17-year-old having to go and get exposure, they're getting exposed to it through the outreach of the engineering companies.
That is probably even better.
Yeah,
100%.
And I think if you've got less people coming through picking engineering, or you've got a challenge of you needing to get more, then to me, you can't rely on young people chasing. Exactly. It's that kind of balancing act. The good thing for you is you.
I'm more like, probably because I speak from my own experience, I chase a lot. Exactly. I do not expect things to come to me, because I always chase what I thought I wanted. But of course, if you think about that not everybody is different.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting exposed is better. Of course, we don't know what life would have been for me if most of my family's members were engineers.
Exactly.
They weren't. I did not have that exposure, so I had to get out in the world to get it.
That's exactly it. And then see what you said as well about networking and events. See that those behaviours that come behind that, which is what you've shown, whether it be going to events or going and getting a job. And I talk about this all the time, is you have to put yourself out there as a person. You can control your own destiny, but you can control your own position if you put yourself out there, you explore. Okay, you need to, puff the chest out and get the confidence, and everyone does. But once you do get that, it gets a wee bit addictive. Going out and meeting people, and opportunities do present themselves. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because it's something that's kind of common at the moment. So I guess then my question to you is there anything within the engineering industry which excites you at the moment? It doesn't have to be in your passive house, doesn't have to be in, for example, building services or your actual element of engineering or product design engineering, but is there anything that excites you within the world of engineering?
Excite me? Well, for my exposure from my career, academic career, I really found a passion for robotics and mechatronics. As I already told you, the reason why I like CAD is like everything it shows you how everything works together, which of course is related to robotics, because you do build a mechanism for a robot to do an action, a choice, which is either is walking, moving, saying hi or something, And then in third year I started to do coding, and I swear I'm not kidding. I was like, I look forward to that, but I'm pretty sure I'll be so bad at it. And instead, it was like, I don't know if they were speaking my language. Like, I didn't know I couldn't understand this. And I just found it so interesting, like, by building words together. I can just make an action, make something work, and it just can be personalized with everything I want to build, everything I want to do. There is such a big world around of things I can code and they will do something. It's just amazing. So it's something, it's not related to my work, but I found it so interesting. And definitely, I love to spend the time in the lab, even if with some mental breakdown here and there. And
it's because you care. It's because you care.
Because I care. Definitely. What else? I don't know. This is definitely something that I'm passionate.
No, exactly.
I got really passionate about it.
Sounds like it kind of taps into your creativity side.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
Kind of...
I felt like a kid. Like I felt like how I felt when I was a kid, and they gave me all these. I should have really known there, but I didn't know what I was doing back then. Like I didn't care to build, like, see, they give me the, like, all the dolls and the bars now. As soon as my male cousin had cars, and so I would just jump in there. This is what I would do. This is like just dismantle things. I want to see how they are made, how to put them together, and I would do always like DIY projects when I was a kid, but just didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, exactly. It's
like I didn't know have a name for it in a way.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So
that's very good. so looking ahead, what are some of your professional goals?
Well, professional goals it's a kind of professional goals, but definitely finish university because I am done with it. Definitely, I want to follow chartership once I finish university, and I like to apply for it. And I like to see myself and more senior position now that I'm starting to be like a lead engineer in some projects. And then, as I said before, one step at a time. See, when they ask you, where you see yourself in 5-10 years, and I think it's good to know where you're heading, but leaving also doors open for possibilities. Yeah. So I know where I'm heading, but it doesn't have to be exactly everything like, it's going to be exactly like this. I just always leave room for improvements.
It sounds to me that you, like you said there about you don't want to look too far ahead. I think it sounds like you've got things mapped out, in terms of you want to finish university, that's a short-term goal. Mm-hmm. You want to become chartered, medium-term goal. And then, some sort of leading in the engineering space, maybe not fully clear, but to me you've got it clear. Mm-hmm. But from your mindset and through what we've discussed already, that you're quite clear on, living in the moment and working towards your immediate goals. So, don't do yourself a disservice on that.
No, I didn't mean it like this. It's more like I don't want to go like too far in the future. It's more like
things can change as well. You know how things evolve, and being flexible and being able to pivot is a talent. So that's something
I think is important as well, because having too many expectations of yourself can set up for you for disappointment. It's just like, doesn't mean don't expect of yourself, don't push yourself. That's right. But do not have this like very questionable expectation of yourself. That is like, you're human. You're. It's fine if you're slower, or if it takes you longer to learn something, or if there are challenges along the way. It's just part of life.
Of course it is. Alessandra, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I've got one last question to ask you, but thank you for coming on. It's been awesome hearing about your journey into engineering, your journey to Scotland, and also your unique, which I hope begins to change across industry, your unique situation where you're studying full time and also working. Congratulations on your career so far. Congratulations on the company you work for, giving you that exposure and that ability to learn, as we've talked about. But yeah, I'm so excited to release this episode. So I guess, what keeps you passionate about engineering?
I believe the challenge is what keeps me passionate, because there is no problem that is the same as another one. It's always a new challenge, something new that you learn. And what I like about engineering is that is always looking ahead, always learning from mistakes and what can be done better, what can we improve, and just there is always an improvement, always a change. So that's why you need always to keep up, because like nothing stays the same for a day, I think. So you always look ahead, always look at the future. It's the best thing you can do.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, and it's been awesome having you on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
All the best with the rest of your studies and your career.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.